Hello everyone. Today at One Planet, we have Mr. Vikram Shetty with us. He is a director at 73-Bit Limited. By skills, he is actually a software programmer and writing web app is how he started his career. He has completed his bachelor's and master's both in information technology and he is working with programming languages like C++, JavaScript, Node.js and a bit of Ruby and he is trying Python these days. He has also worked with languages like SQL Server. So since the past 5 years, he is running a business which is a software product company and which is a app which has an app named ProBench. A few years back, he with his business partner acquired 73-Bit Limited, which is based in London. During this new role of business, he wore multiple hats. So the primary role has still been the technology path of the product, and he also has actively took the role of hiring and sales. While during the sales, he took a solution oriented approach and found that helping the community with solving the business problem was his style of sales. He is still learning it daily and trying to help clients in the process. And the clients at ProBench, which you would be very happy to know about, that they are from the sustainability area. And thus, Vikram's venture is into the world of sustainability, meeting data and technology. So, Vikram, I welcome you today at One Planet, and we are really honored to have you here today.
Thank you very much, Anupriya. It's really my pleasure to be a guest here and looking forward for our conversation.
Yes, definitely. So I think I'll just start right away. Your career, it looks more like a software person's career or a software guy's career. So, and then you started handling clients which were into sustainability. So one obvious question that comes into mind is why should businesses care about, sustainable development goals?
That's a very good question to start off with. Just to understand for to achieve anything, we need a plan. So that's like a basic fundamental of anything. So United Nations has drafted sustainable development goals, which are 17 goals and many other targets, and it was drafted in 2015. And they have drafted this keeping everyone in the world in the mind. So their key tagline or the key line that is very popular is "Leave no one behind" is the motto in which
Right.
they planned this sustainable development goal. And while drafting it, all the players in the society, like government, civil society, citizen, and businesses, were a key integral part. And as you know, in any free society, which is basically a society where business plays a key important role because it is kind of a structure. So not only that UN drafted it, where business becomes a key stakeholder or a stakeholder in the whole sustainable development goal agenda, but also in a society where amongst all the climate crisis and the current pandemic that we are going through, we often see that businesses are at the center and also affected the most. So that it's not as an afterthought that sustainability should be a part of it, but as a construct strong plan where businesses play a very key important role in sustainable development goals. And it's also all these goals are not separate, they are interlinked together just like a system. And when we call about a big system, then businesses always comes to a key part. So there are multiple, those are the multiple reason I primarily think, without going much into a detail, that businesses
Right.
play a very sustainability development goals plays very important role for the businesses that we are in.
Correct, correct. I think what you are saying is, very true that businesses play an important role in shaping how the society functions. And if we are going to develop a sustainable society, leaving behind businesses is not an option. Uh, so, what is corporate sustainability benchmarking? Since you have done extensive work in it, so I would like to, you to just tell the people who are watching what
Right.
so from somewhere from someone who has worked in this field for so long. What do you think corporate sustainability benchmarking is, and how is it important for someone like you?
Right. So, uh, corporate sustainability benchmarking is basically a way to measure or assess companies on the key indicators of SDG in our reference to make it more simple. Let me give it, tell you with an example so that it's more clear for everyone. So suppose one of the key goal is equality and gender equality and gender pay gap comes to a talk everywhere in Twitter or anywhere in the conversation. So before we bridge the gender gap, we should know how much is the gap. So how much for a same designation, if there is a male employee versus a female employee, what is the gap that we are in? That's the first question we need to address before we start. So as they say, before we have to reach somewhere, we first need to know where we are currently, because
Right.
otherwise we will not come to know how we can.
Yeah.
So in that context, corporate sustainability benchmark becomes a compass or a yardstick to measure of how things are. So coming back to the pay gap example, so a typical corporate sustainability benchmark here will be collecting all the data from the companies on different levels, and not only between and gender. I mean, the gender is also a complex subject, so there will be a different layer in genders as well, and considering those into account. And so once we collect those all information, then based on the data collected, we have a standard methodology of scoring for each company, and based on that methodology, we come up with a score for each company, and
Okay.
that score can be then compared amongst different company. And the reason we have to standardize it is because all the company may not be similar in size, shape, geography, and there are other parameters. So we have to keep on weightage and things also. So that's pretty much some of why corporate sustainability benchmarking is there and how it is useful. And when it comes to us, so we actually provide a software for doing such benchmarking and assessment. So the as a researcher team or a researcher who wants to collect this kind of data, who wants to map evidences and who wants to make sure that all the calculations are done upfront, do some basic calculation upfront or validation, or after collecting the data, you need to do some kind of a cleanup or
Right.
standard normalize the data to make sure the units are correct or not, and even get back to each company with a detailed report, which is very bespoke to their company, but also automatically created based on the standards or the because if say for a very simple example, if someone has scored less than 25 percentage and if someone has scored more than 80%, the recommendation for each individual or as an
Yeah.
entity, it will be completely different. In this case, an individual company might have to take different path to their own success.
Right.
So it's more about collaborative approach of competition, and it's basically not to name and shame anybody, but it is basically a race to a top, and it's basically an educational way of knowing the best practices that needs to be performed by the top leaders of the organizations, and how who are doing better, how we can learn from them, and how we can as a society be more sustainable in different contexts. So I just the example I gave was gender pay gap. So similarly we do climate, so there is the climate crisis benchmark. So basically the company how they are doing in terms of climate or responsible cotton or basically access to nutrition, and there are multiple. So each SDG may or may not have, I mean, they may have different benchmarks that you need.
True, true, true. Yeah, so and one of the things, that caught my attention with regard to ProBench was that, when I saw that with particular parameter, you have different companies and basically a graphical representation of how
Right.
different companies compare with each other. So there's always, it's always good to have a particular benchmark so that there's some comparison. And
Right.
having a visual representation for that is always, something which everybody gets.
Absolutely. So if you know about sustainability reports, which has been famous in last decade, one of the challenges, or one of the thing that is stopping, I mean, the work has been already done, but the reports are so big that people currently don't have that attention span of reading through a 100-page or a 500-page report.
Right.
And especially the younger generation, with all the mobile and all the technology that we have in place, it is not effective way of creating data or representing data just in form of a report. There is a need for those kind of reports, but a visually a more appealing, uh, what we say as interactive dashboard, makes it more easier for someone to understand which is doing good or bad in, like, within few seconds or even few minutes, if you want to dig deeper.
Yeah.
And if you want to do detail analysis, they can definitely go crazy with all the analytical data that they
Right.
have.
Right. Right. And what is the advice to young graduates about the sustainability job market in India, particularly?
Right. So I think it's not hidden from anyone. The world has hit by this catastrophe and pandemic, as it has been told. It's told pandemic because it affects each one of us. The job market, or the whole economy, has taken a big hit. There is no doubt about it. But we did a recent research, because I've been working with the community to help them to get some job. You can check all the work on the LinkedIn profile that I have. But a recent analysis that we did, and we just try to scrape some data from Google and find out how many posting was there. So they were pretty much, I mean, with our posting for sustainability project manager role that we search for, there were more than 100 job available at this time across India. So I'm not sure if it is good or bad, because we don't have historical data. So I cannot benchmark it as, because it's the first time we collected the data. Maybe in future we will come to know. And also the job role title is also a bit tricky in the world of sustainability, because sometimes it's a project manager work as a sustainability manager, so it's difficult. But yes, it is reduced for sure, but it is not going anywhere. That's what my understanding on the thing is, because I'll give you an example of one of my client, how sustainability is impacted in this pandemic. Uh, it is there. And her point of view, because we come from a benchmarking and sustainability point of view, people might think that they are very, I mean, we have people are dying, so how sustainability can be a priority. So that example really shook me. So if you analyze the data, especially from India's data, definitely there are people infected, and definitely there are people who are also recovered. So recovery rate is better in India. That's really a good news for us. But among the people who we lost, if you see, the virus has impacted the people who have are either a diabetic or a high cholesterol, or those kind of infected disease for them, who have affected, and the loss is really bad. But if you see, uh, if you analyze it, if you think through it, it's because of unhealthy food or unhealthy lifestyle is where people have been gone to a diabetic or unhealthy. So when I say, which means that there was not enough investment done in the health side, or the good health side of it. So there are not. I mean, definitely there is no index currently. We have an India index for micronutrition, or access to nutrition. So the micronutrition content in a packed food is almost zero. So if there is no healthy food, then people are affected, and then so there is a catastrophe. I mean, there is domino effect to it.
Right.
So if we have more investment in healthy food or good lifestyle, which is also a part of SDG goal 2 and 3 both, so then automatically we would have got pandemic. But the fear that is currently that we are in might have not been so bad,
True.
because if we would have been more healthy lives. And yeah, I mean, this is a very far-fetched analysis, but you cannot deny for the fact that these are the realities that we are currently. So
Right.
it's you cannot remove it from the, if we have to be more sustainable, it's simple, like we need more plants to make sure that the next summer is not hotter than the previous one. So that's where the sustainability world will not collapse. So the
Correct.
people, so there will be always jobs in this sector, and there will be always a way for people to find employment. And having said that, I mean, this is just a wish, I mean, this just the future, but what a person can do right now. One of the idea that came across during our discussion was the companies might not have a job opening, but people who can think creatively or people who can think innovatively can find themselves a job for their livelihood. One of the idea that came across was being a personal intern to some of the
True.
senior executive or
Yes.
some of the person who is in the senior role. So and because it is an Indian context, I will just throw in the number because it's no point just talking round
Right.
and round and not coming to the point. So if anyone in the industry who has more than 12 lakhs to 15 lakh salary, and for you to know them, they should be a manager or at a sustainability consultant level, and you can figure it out. And if they have more than maybe 10 years of experience or 7 years of experience, most probably they will be having that much of salary. So that's your cue for finding such person. And you, instead of applying for a job for their company, you ask to be their own personal intern. And the kind of work that you can do is research work. You can do all the analysis work that you are good at. If you are good at technology or if you are good at Excel or those kind of skills, then you can help them churn some of the data that you are in. You can definitely help them build their personal brand, because personal brand in the gig economy or in the future, because they are also trying to find a place for their next appraisal or for their next job. Because even though they are at a senior position, the economy is economy, and if it is
Yes.
impacted you, it has impacted them. And if they are forward thinking, they will definitely invest some of their future or their present money into the future. So if they hire you as an intern, they just have to pay you for 10,000 and 15,000. I know 10,000 and 15,000 might sound big at this time, but a person who is at a senior person, relatively for their future, if they are having a possibility that because of hiring an intern for their personal work, and if they can do some of the work for the future and make their next appraisal or next job hunt, which is for a 20 lakh or a 25 lakh salary, or you never know, they might start some side business of their own because they see the opportunity in this market. So that's a good investment of 15,000 or 20,000
Yes.
for 1 month for an intern. And also they don't have to commit for the whole year. They can commit for 3 months or 2 months and see how this they work out. And that's an investment from 30,000 to 50,000. And that in a whole scheme of work, that will show their caliber, how they can systemize the thing, how they can delegate a thing, how they can manage a team. So that's leadership, and that's lot of learning just to have someone and guide them into the journey of sustainability.
Correct. Correct. And it's a it's a good starting point to learn whatever the expert
Absolutely.
knows.
Absolutely.
Uh, yeah. So
So
and
it's a win-win for both, as an intern and as an senior person. Intern don't have to worry, because even if it is unorthodox job, you can use this point in your next interview, which will be in the company, explaining them the there were no opportunity, and I created an opportunity from a
correct.
thin air. So don't you want a person who can do things like this for your company as well?
Correct. Correct. Definitely. Definitely. Um, also, since we are on this topic, what do you think is the one mistake that people, should avoid in
Right.
their first job?
Right. Uh, so I mean, currently, I think I will take a step back. We People are struggling to get their first job. So I think what I will emphasize, let's everyone get a first job, and then we will figure out
Right.
how how what we can. So I think getting a first job. One of the common mistake that I've seen, not only from sustainability to non-sustainability world also, because of their desperate situation, they when they are asking for a job for someone, or they connect to someone on LinkedIn or someone, they tell I will do any kind of sustainability job. So they just are open to do anything. We understand practically you have to be open to do anything, so that's nothing wrong. But when you are finding something, you have to be very specific, because if, for example, if you after watching this, I know people will reach out to me on LinkedIn, and once they come, sir, this is my resume, can you give me some job? But this is kind of their pitch, and I think that pitch is not taking them anywhere. So I think they have to do a little bit of research of the person they are approaching, and they have to be very specific on the kind of role they are looking for in the first place, because they are having some skills, and they are looking for a certain kind of job. Not every kind of a job they can do, because that's not practical in some cases. And even if they are, while you are approaching, you have to be very specific. That niche approach, for example, I want to do a research on plastic wastage. So now at least it is not so niche, but I have couple
Yes.
of keywords, so that when you check with me on that, okay, packaging, oh, I know one person that can help you out. Okay, I will give you that reference. And when they approach, they have to be very niche. And if they think that one niche is challenge for them, create five niche that you are open. So still you are wide, but when
Right.
you approach, which of this niche you will present to that person, or which you think that he might or she might be able to help you. So I
Correct.
think that is a lab. And also they are not using their LinkedIn effectively. What they are doing is they are just going and reaching out to people. But if you fix on a niche of any domain, for example, plastic reuse, or carbon footprinting, or any of the topic that they have to keep posting data and keep talking about the same topic in the comments on their LinkedIn. So someone, if they go and approach also, or some by mistakenly come to there, which is open for network, and they every time they will just browse through it to see even if this person is a kind of a screening. So in that screening, if your profile is not up to date, if we are not posting anything about
Right.
subject matter expert, then your chances are drastic. So I think this the niche thing, and to promote yourself as that at recyclable expert, or a carbon footprint expert, or a carbon credit expert, pick whatever thing you need. But as soon as I get into your profile, I should be uh, knowing, be a little more confident. Okay, the person is interested in this topic, and he is talking about it. And
Right.
at this point it is important, because the number of jobs are already less, so you want to make your option as much better as possible.
Yes, true. And like the viewers here would be delighted to know that we also found each other on LinkedIn only. So,
Right.
that is how you can, and especially in this time, where it is difficult to go and meet people personally, LinkedIn is a very good place.
Right.
So, this is basically how, it plays a very important role if you are trying to get into a sustainability sector.
Right now, when you, I mean, just to, as an extension for this, when you may put this topic across, I mean, the question that also you had was what the sustainability students or a young graduate can do in India. Now, if you see, everyone is working from home, everyone is virtual. So actually, you the remote work culture. This is the platform that world has given to you. So you are not only limited to India. You can also work for anyone remotely. Because I personally know sustainability professional in India who work for companies abroad. Because you have certain kind of knowledge, or you have certain kind of skills, so you don't have to limit yourself from
Yes.
doing that as well.
Definitely, definitely. So, Vikram, thank you, for sharing so much knowledge with us.
No, no,
And
no problem.
you'll be also delighted to know that Vikram also runs a podcast. So while we were having a conversation, I came to know that
Right.
he has started a podcast. Would you like to, just elaborate on it a bit?
Yes, I think so. I think the I have two podcasts basically that I run. One which Anupriya is talking about is sustainability job interviews. I think that's more relevant to the viewers that are watching this. And this is basically the podcast is created because of this pandemic. So I found many of them are looking for job, and I did this only for senior people. The whole idea there was for people with more than 5 years of experience. If they start getting a job, automatically they will start creating their team, and that will be more impactful, and we will have people in place where they can create more jobs. That's the pretty much the idea. So if you are in the space of sustainability and if you have more than 5 years of experience, I ask 5 questions and details are in my LinkedIn profile. And just to share some feedback on the 16 interviews which we already conducted in past few months, almost each interview gets more than 500 to 1000. And I have one interview which has been viewed more than 4000 times. We were like surprised, even the guest was surprised. And 3 or 4 of them have got interview opportunity right on the comments. I'm not
Wonderful.
sure how many have got directly, and few of them have already got the job, not through this interview process, but everyone has welcomed that the whole process, because then you are putting yourself out. I think it's the same thing. If the job market is kind of dried up, you create opportunity, put yourself out, and you might spark an idea with someone where the opportunity is not there, and still they can create. For example, I mean, done one of my recent post also. So suppose if someone is hiring 2 person, and so that means they have a budget for 2 person, and they found your profile afterwards, like not in the process, and they found you interesting, they can kind of squeeze you in. Instead
Correct.
of two, they can have a 3 person. They can adjust the salary because they find something interesting. So that could be a possibility. So I think you have to create those possibilities just sitting there. Anyways, if you are not applying for jobs and if you are not doing interviews right now, you have to create the content so that you are out in the world showing your skills.
Right, right. So thank you so much for this interview, Vikram, and taking out time for this. I will link Vikram's LinkedIn profile and also a link to his podcast if someone is interested, so that they can reach out to you if they want.
Sure. Thank you so
Thank
much, Anupriya. It was really nice speaking to you.
Yes,
Thank you very
thank you.
much.
Yeah, bye bye.
Bye bye.